And we're back with part 2 of my book review of Jennifer H. Carey's Illuminating the Stories That Bind Us. I left off at the beginning of chapter 4 in the first part of this book video review, or video book review. And what I'm going to do now is show you some images of video that I took as I prepared for this review, as well as some still frames so that you can see the actual text on the page better. I hope that this works out. I'm recording the audio separately from the video of the pages of the book, me flipping through. It was difficult to try to figure out the best way to present the pages from a paperback book. I believe the video book reviews will go a little bit better and smoother once I'm doing this from a Kindle or ebook or PDF, but we'll see. This is still my first foray into presenting such material. So here we go at the beginning of chapter 4. I won't read all of the text on the images nor excerpts from the book, but my plan is, as I leaf through the book and show you, I will mention the parts that really stood out to me, like the vulnerability and the transparency that Jen showed as an author and as a therapist writing this book. There were so many things that were profound, deep, and beautiful. Very heartwarming and uplifting and moving. And even she doesn't hold back from the scary parts, like when she spoke about or wrote about fear and the various fears that we have, our internal dialogue that all of us have to some degree, less or more. I know that our minds, our brains are mysterious things, and that we all tend to be on a spectrum when it comes to this. Some people are much more confident, maybe have less brain chatter. Others, their mind just never stops. But you can see here, as I leaf through the pages, the notes, the things that came up in my mind as I read, like Fauci is a fraud. Some of these stories really hit a nerve and hit home for me, and so I wrote a lot of notes in the margins, and you'll see some of those here, from my wins to the mind chatter that popped up for me as I worked through the book. I didn't just read this, by the way. I literally worked through it. Now you'll see some pages. There's very few pages in the book that aren't underlined or that notes are not written on, and those were just simply because those specific sections of the book didn't resonate for me, or they weren't things that I had lived through or experienced, or they were things that I had already kind of battled with on my own, and so I didn't need to work through anything there. But that's very few pages in this book. I must say, this really surprised me that there were so many pages in the book that I felt a lot, I really needed to sit with the information. I needed to meditate, pray. I needed to practice. And even after finishing the book, I will say, in full transparency, I had, that we hardly ever get solicitors here, but the universe was showing me that on 2 different occasions in the last week, we had a solicitor from the cable internet company that we used to have that we've switched from now. And so I've already had a conversation with these people once and told them absolutely no, and I've been on the phone with them and told them no, we don't want to switch back, we're happy with who we have. My point to all this is that the universe was showing me there are times when the situation and maybe it's warranted to some degree, for me to just specifically say no very firmly and shut the door in people's face. But I aim to be kind at all times and respectful. That's always my natural state. But at this point, with this particular company, and because they kind of would catch me off guard with our door open to get a cross flow breeze, and or we were watching a movie in the middle of dinner, 8 o'clock at night, that kind of thing, when I admit I was not kind. Now, once they kind of, they were kind to me and they got my attention and my awareness kicked in and my heart kicked back in, if they said, hey, we're sorry, have a nice night, or have a blessed night, that one got me. With this last one, it kicked me in the butt really hard, and I was like, okay, yes, Sheila, practice what you preach, So I said, you too, and I meant it. I did. But in the initial confrontation of them coming to the door, I was not very kind. I even used the F-bomb the second time it happened, which you would think I would be a little bit more aware and better, but I was just in a mood that day. So I'm saying this for people to know that, because I've done this too. I've judged these people that profess all love and light, and then they kick you in the ass, and they're not nice to you, or they cuss somebody else out or something in a different situation, and you're just watching it from a distance. And so we tend to judge these people. Well, at least I have. So now the shoe's on the other foot, right? So I'm supposedly this interfaith minister, and I'm supposedly this, my natural state and my happy medium, my walk the middle way, Taoist Christian path here is not to judge. And I caught myself not only judging, but not even being kind. I mean, I know I've seen and heard worse, but it was not a good moment for me. And if my husband was hearing and seeing that, or someone else that I love, I wouldn't be very happy with myself to do such a thing. So again, I'm just being honest. There's always things I think that we can work on. I think we have wounded parts and fragmented parts. Jen does a great job of explaining our various parts through this book and encouraging us to simply shed more light on those and work on those. And nobody's perfect. I read a Facebook post from someone earlier today, in fact, that highlighted that again, because they were judging the love and light person whom I actually like and have been following just recently. So it gave me that opportunity. Again, the universe will mirror things back to us often. And if we're just awake and aware enough to see that as a mirror of our weakness, our woundedness, our fragments that can continue to use more healing and nurturing, then, those of us who at least continue to want to grow spiritually, emotionally, grow our emotional intelligence, our EQ, we can use those times to really sit with that. And of course, pray, ask for forgiveness. We're flawed. And just use books like Jen Carey's book here to continue to highlight help that is available. I could probably work with a counselor on a few of these issues of mine. I think that I've been through so much counseling in the past that that's why I don't reach out. But I will say that, this really surprised me how much more I feel like there is in me, peeling the layer of the onion of healing myself, and can get to both a deeper core of myself to know thyself better, as well as to raise my vibration and climb what my gene keys call my ascension, my ascension code, to climb higher in a spiritually elevated type of way. Again, I'm not judging myself. I'm only I'm only desiring to be better tomorrow than I am today. I'm not competing with anybody else. Let me see where I'm at now with the book, and I'll see what else I can highlight. I really appreciated that Jen added the medicine woman's prayer back a few pages now. I love this prayer, and I collect these. I'm a member of the Sacred Science group, and I collect a lot of their prayers. They really help. Again, all of these things help when we use them, right? So you can have a library full of books, but if you're not reading them and you're not embodying the information, really studying it, taking it in, thinking about it, it's really not going to help much. So, yeah, I use the journal prompts in the book like this to show myself, if no one else, but you're getting a glimpse now into my life and some of the things that I've done or dreams and goals that I still have kind of in the well, so to speak, or on the radar. I love this, and I marked it how to get happy because this page in particular gives us a roadmap and tools to achieve and reach our dreams. One of the things in 2019 I learned was that I never understood why my mother loved trees as much as she did until I sat or stood around a yew tree, Y-E-W. So that's in my notes here. And just how much I care about, since my parents' passings, I care about what's going on at the end of life. And of course the afterlife. And Jen has a story in here about something that happened to her, or with her, for her, at the time of her father's passing. So that really hit home for me, and I can totally relate to it. It's one of the reasons I wrote the book Blue Eyes, was for my mother, because of the visitation type dream experience that I had after her passing. It was months after her passing, so I wouldn't call it a shared death experience. However, I did have one after my father passed, of a shared death experience. So I'm very much drawn to working and studying and reading and interested in all aspects of the afterlife. I've added some things here, like when Jen tells this story, and it's great, about the wow stage, and I made a mark here of the spiral on the page because that's something that I still work with, singing and working with my husband on a radio show. It's called Unsolicited Radio on YouTube. And we do hope to do more with that, perhaps even live events at some point. But right now we're really excited and happy just to be doing the YouTube. I say just, but I think it's a big deal to have a YouTube and Rumble show. So these are some of the notes I made about the fear of success that I have had. And I've been a fixer. I've been a people pleaser. In fact, people pleasing's run rampant in my family line on both sides, I've come to find out. So that's something that I still work through. I feel the fear and do it anyway. There's my note about that. And that all the way back when Jen and I did the breakthrough performance coaching group, I had an experience right before going on stage where I pulled a muscle putting on my costume, and man, is it hard to go out and perform when you have something going on in your body. And that was probably the first time that I ever realized that I might hurt my body and then feel very tense and in pain even before going out and doing a presentation or a song. And it gave me a lot of room for compassion for other people, just like hopefully the gentleman who knocked on our door the other day just had compassion for me and said, "Have a blessed night," because perhaps on some level he knew that I had been challenged that day. I'd already had like 3 people come to the door for various things too earlier, and kind of had my heart check again with a situation that had happened next door to, where someone came in the house and I heard them and I didn't know who it was. So it gave me a jump start. and I call those heart checks. So when things happen like that, I think sometimes it's a cumulative effect, and the person has had a series of cascading events throughout their day, and they're just pushed to the edge. And maybe you just happen to be the unfortunate soul who stumbles upon them and says, just not the right thing, just not the right time. And you're going to kind of get it. You're going to get their reaction from a whole cascading list of things that had happened to them earlier in the day. So try to give people grace, compassion, just realizing again that nobody's perfect, and that all we're doing is I think anyway, for those of us who want to continue and are always continually learning and growing, we're trying to embody the teachings, and we're trying to bring them into our hearts, and we're trying to act as if and behave in a way that honors what we're learning and what our aspirations are, but that we all grow at differing rates of speed. And at the end, everything resolves to gratitude. Thank you so much for being here, for listening all the way through, giving me the grace that I needed to get this done. I use this as a tool to help hold me accountable to read the books that I have bought. Some of them are upstairs on my shelf and have been there with me through various moves, and I still haven't read them. So if you like this video book review, please let me know in the comments, even if you just want to say you liked it. Or if you want to give me any constructive criticism or feedback, that's appreciated too. If you want to offer suggestions on how I can make these better, tools that I can use, I'm still, this is all a work in progress. So again, this has been part 2, the finale of my video book review on Jen Carey's book. Wonderful book, highly recommend it, Illuminating the Stories That Bind Us. I'll read you the full title. The line under the title is Breaking Through the Stories Between You, Your Dreams, and Your Fully Expressed Life of Joy and Bliss. You are a light worthy to shine. And I am Sheila Murrey, your spiral sister. I'm an instigator, I'm an author, connect the unseen. I'm a bridge to the unseen, because we aren't always allowed the space or the freedom to talk about these kinds of unseen aspects of life and the afterlife when we go to our various religious organizations. If you want someone to talk with about that, I'm here. Just reach out and let me know. And please feel free to like, share, and subscribe my YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it. And it matters more than you know. Blessings.